Alright guys, welcome back. So now that we have our products on the back end, we can actually start displaying them on the front end. But first of all, on the previous video, I actually did in here a small mistake. So if we go inside of the routes folder on the pages file, we were trying to do a module exports of the router. So basically we can have our routes of our website in here. But I did a typo in here, is not modules like plural, but it's just module. All right. So if you do module.exports, you should clear that bug, because if you try to run your application before, it would not work. All right. So let's just do an npm start to make sure it's working. Remember, just doing here module.exports equals to router, so we can export this variable that we created before. And if we go onto our browser to localhost 5000, we should be able to see in here our application. All right, it should be working as it was before. Look, you add these products, and then you can check them in here, increase, decrease. It's still, everything is working fine. Okay, so yeah. Let's start actually displaying the products that we created on our backend. So for that, I'm going to just like get rid of some of these pages that we have in here. And I'm going to be focusing on, where is it? My front end, this one, index.hps. Just going to move these in here into 2 spaces. And that looks much better. What I did, by the way, is I clicked on Alt, Shift, and F. Alt, Shift, and F, and this auto indents all the file for me, so it all looks great. Okay, so we have everything in here that we need. I'm going to right now comment all these products that we have in here, because remember, I don't want to be displaying the details about it in here. So if I go to my home page again, I refresh, there is nothing in there. Perfect. All right, so how can we actually get now these products? We are going to do, first of all, is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do Axios CDN. So I'm using Axios, which is like a third-party library that allows us to make API calls, like for your backend or for any other APIs that there are in the internet. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can do this with Fetch, is super popular as another package. This one, Axios, is one of the most popular one and is the one that I'm going to be using. You can actually install these, or you can just use a link, which is like a CDN, so you don't have to install it. You just have to reference the link and it's going to work straight out of the box. So I have in here Axios CDN. I think I'm going to choose this one. I'm not sure which one is the most popular. I think probably this one from here. All right, CDN.js. Let me look for Axios in here on the top. So Axios. So I'm on cdnjs.com and I look for Axios. So I'm going to click in that one. That's the one that I want to use. And now I'm just going to click in this one that it says copy script tag. This one in here in the middle. So if you click in there, it's going to automatically copy these for you. I'm selecting this one, the minified version. And I'm going to go to my index.hps because it's going to be in this page where I want to do that. Let's get rid of some of these spaces. I'm going to put this here. Okay, I'm going to save it. I got this script. So now I should be able to make some calls to my backend or to any other APIs using Axios, this library. Okay, so let's go to our main.js. Where is it? So if I go into my public, I got images, I got this one, main.js. So in here on the top, I think, I'm not sure now, let me just double check. I don't think that we're going to use anymore these products that we have in there. Yeah, we are going to get rid of these products in here because we're going to get everything from the backend. So let's just comment these out for now, these products. And what we are going to do now is we're going to create a function that makes the query to those products. Let's do that. So I'm going to create this function. I'm going to do function and I'm going to call it get products. You could call it anything. I'm just going to call it get products because this is going to grab the products that we just got. So let's create a function. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to create a variable called response. I could give it anything, but because we're going to make a query to the backend and the backend is going to give us a response, you know, it makes sense that we have this kind of variable name. Now, what is this going to be now? Is going to be equals to Axios dot get. So I'm going to make this Axios dot get in here because I'm going to make a get request to the backend to get those products. Now, what is going to be now the URL where we're trying to get these values? I'm going to put in here for now that this is going to be like this. I'm going to put in http:// and then I'm going to put our localhost because we are just working locally, localhost, and then it's on the port 5000. So obviously when we're going to be on production, basically when you are putting your project online for everyone to see, we are going to change this dynamically. Okay, so we're going to make a call into our backend to this kind of URL, http:// localhost 5000 and then / products. Now, we don't have this URL on our backend to serve all the products. So let's create it. Let's go to our backend and let's create that. So we should go first of all into our routes. So we want to do that. Let's go into our server.js first of all, and let's go in here where we created this route for our pages. Let's do another one, app.use. I'm going to put in here to start just with a /. If you guys wanted, you could just put in here like products. Okay, so anything that is going to start with products is going to go to this specific route that we want. So let's put require. And now I'm going to put in here, where is this route? This is going to be / routes. And then the page is going to be products. Okay, so I think I got everything that we need. All right, so we created the route in our backend. So whenever we make a request to our backend, look, this is exactly what we are doing. Localhost 5000 / products. We're making a query to our backend with a get request. So we created the route in our server.js. If anyone makes a query to / products, let's go inside of this file, which should be inside of routes, products. Let's do that. Let's go into our routes. Let's create that file products. Look, we are referencing it in here. So let's do that. Products.js. And now what do we want to put inside of this route for the products? For this one, it's going to be very similar to what we have on the pages. All right, so I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it inside. And we're going to have something similar. I'm going to delete this. The router is going to stay the same. Okay, and this is going to change as well. Right, okay, let me also delete this. So first of all, it means that when we come in here, I'm just going to put a / because we are already on the products. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to grab these. If we want to create another route, let's say, for example, that was /products /ID, I could put in here the ID. But at the moment, I just want to have / exactly. So I'm just going to leave it as / because we already referenced it before. So when we come in here to this route, what is going to be the controller that we want? What do we want to do basically? So let's create in here a products. And I'm going to say this controller. I'm just going to put ctrl, so it's like a short version, and then function. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do products control function. And where is this function? This function is, let's import it in here on the top. Okay, this product controls function is inside of our controllers folder, and then inside of the controllers folder we must have a certain file in there, which should be the products control file. All right, so obviously this file does not exist at the moment, so let's create it. So products control file, let's go inside of controllers, let's do new file, and let's do this products control file .js. I'm going to copy as well what we have in here in pages control file, so it just saves us a bit of time. All right, so what's the name of the function inside in here? Is going to be, let's go to our routes again. Where was it? This one. We said that we need to find a products control function in there. So let's do that. Products control file, this one. Okay, so what do we want to do inside of this products control file now? Let me just go in here, my products control file. First of all, before I do anything else, I want to import these products that we created before. Do you remember in the previous video where we created all these products? We're going to do exactly that. We're going to import these products into our products control file. So I'm going to do const, and I'm going to put in here these curly braces because we used before the exports dot. And I'm going to put in here product list. Could give it anything, any name that I want, but you know, just to make it consistent, I'm going to put the same name. Now inside of my products control file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do require. So where I'm going to require this from, I'm going to do /. So to go up one level, we are inside of the controllers folder. We're going to go up one level, and then we can grab directly in here the products.js, which we're going to do products.js. We don't even need to reference in here the .js, okay? We can just get rid of it. So now that we have this, one, what we want to do in here is we want to just do a, first of all, we're going to do in here a try catch. If you never heard about a try catch, basically, this is a way that you can actually run some of your code, and if at any point there is any error that comes up in here, your code that is inside of this try block, if there is any error, it will automatically jump for inside of this code, and you can basically just log the error to see what's wrong. So if everything goes okay inside of this code block, inside of this try catch, how we say, this part in here of the error never runs. Okay, so what we want to do in here when we come, we want to send a response to the front end. We're going to do a res.status. So basically, look, we are sending a response to the front end. Look, this is this variable that we have up here. We want to send a response to the front end with a status of 200. So basically on the backend, whenever you are trying to access some of these resources, the backend can send some different responses, and there are different HTTP codes. This is what we call an HTTP code that represents certain scenarios. So for example, you can say that 200 is a status code that everything was okay. Someone is making a query and everything is okay. I'm sure that most of you guys, for example, I've heard about the status code 404 whenever you are trying to access a page that does not exist. So there are different HTTP codes, and we're going to use some of them throughout this course. So we got in here res.status 200 to say everything was okay. And then I'm going to put in here res.status.json, because I'm going to send this as a JSON format. That's usually how you send this during an API call. So this is going to be like an API really. And so .json, and you see inside of the .json I'm putting an object. All right, look, the beginning and the closing of the curly braces. And now I'm going to send to the front end products. This is going to be the key, and the value inside of this is going to be this product list. Okay, so it should be all good. And if for some reason there is any error in here, we can simply just do a console.log of the error, okay? So if there's any error, this catch block is going to run and we can see the error in here in our terminal. So it should be all good. So let's just recap to make sure that we are all on the same page with what happened in here. So let's go into our index.hps. So remember guys that on the front end, in order for you to use the Axios to make some calls to a backend or any other API, make sure that you have the Axios in here, some sort of a CDN, or you need to install it. So now that we have this in here, we could go in here onto our main.js. We're going to create a function like this one, get products. And what we're going to do is const response, creating a variable. So we are going to make a call to the backend. So Axios, you are using that library .get because we are using a get request to the backend. Now, what's going to be the URL on the backend that we are making a query is going to be localhost 5000. It's our local server, and then /products. So let's go to our server.js. Do we have this kind of route? Look, we specified it in here, /products. So when we go to /products, where do we go? We need to go inside of our routes folder and inside of the products.js file. So let's go there, routes, products.js. And what are we doing in here? We are basically creating a route that when we go to router.get of just // means that we are just in that products from before. If we would put in here ID, it would be basically a /products /ID. I don't want that. So when we go in here to this route, what are we going to do basically? We are going to run this function called products control function. Where is this products control function? This is imported in here on the top, which lives inside of our controllers products control file. What are we doing in here? In this function, the only thing that we are doing is sending a response to the front end with a status of 200, means that everything is okay, there's nothing wrong, and with an object as a JSON format, that's how we work with APIs, with a key of products, and the value in there is basically going to be an array, which is our product list. We imported our product list, if you guys remember, it's down here in the products. Look, this is this array with all this data. So going back now onto our front end, we should get that object with the products, everything stored in this variable of response. We should get in here. So let's just do in here a console.log of response. And obviously we need to call this function in order for us to see something happening. So let's try this now in our front end and see if we actually get these values from our backend. Let's go in here. Let me open in here my console. Make sure that you open your developer tools in here so you see the values. I'm going to put on my home page and let's see what's happening in here. So if you guys look, you see in here that we have a promise on our main.js 5. So main.js 5 is this one. So what exactly is happening in here? The problem that we have in here is that we are dealing with promises. When you are making a request to an API, to a database or whatever, there could be some sort of delays. And basically what happens in here is like in JavaScript, because JavaScript reads the code synchronously. So it means that it's reading the first line first, the second line after, and so on and so on. If, for example, when we are making a request for a certain variable like this one, it might take 2 seconds, 3 seconds or whatever, but JavaScript doesn't wait for this code to be completed and just goes on to the next line. The problem is when we try to run this code in here, console.log of response, this value from before still has not received something from the backend. Probably could be delays or whatever. So we can actually solve this using async and await with the promises. All right. So let's do exactly that. in our function in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass some async and await. So before my function, I'm going to put in here async. So this is going to be asynchronous function. And now where I have in here this axios.get, I'm just going to put before and await. Remember that in order for you to use this await, you always have to have this async before. That's how it works, the async await. You need to have them both to work. Let's try it again and see if this time we get any sort of response. Localhost 5000 / is not found. Okay, so we have a small problem in here. Let's see what might be wrong. Oh, I think that the problem that we have in here is because since we added a couple of files and so on, we actually need to restart our server. Let's do that and see if this fixes it. So I'm going to stop my server by doing Control-C and let's restart it. I'm going to do npm start. This is just because we created some files and so on. We restarted the server. Let's refresh the page. And what are we getting? Look, this time our main.js line 5 is giving us something. Look, this variable of response, which is bringing us everything from the backend, whatever we are sending, is giving us an object with some config, with some data, with some headers. Look, with a status of 200. Look, he's even telling you that everything is okay. But our data that we want when we are working with Axios is usually inside of this data key. Look, data. All right. And inside of this data, we actually have the products. That's what we are sending from the backend, remember. So in here, where we have this console.log of response, let's not do just response, but response.data, because that's how Axios work. All right, let's refresh the page and see this time what we have. Look, this time we have directly what we are sending from the backend. Look, products, and inside we got this array with all these products that we are sending from before. Look, this is the same values that we are specifying in here. Look, products, and then our product list, our product array that we created before. So now that we are getting this in here on our front end, we can basically now populate this in our front end with the values from the backend. So let's do that. I want to go back to my main.js. Now that I have this in here, I call these get products. I'm going to create another function and I'm going to call this function populate products. All right. So this function, what I'm going to do is in my index.hps, going back in here, if you remember, I'm putting all these products inside of this container. So let's grab this container first of all. On these populate products, I'm going to do const container is going to be equals to document.query selector. So for those of you guys that you don't know, this kind of query selector is just going to grab the first element that you can put in here, the element reference by their tag name, by the ID, by the class name, and we're going to put in here the container. Container, that's it. Oops, let's go. What did I forgot in here? Now, what else do we need now? We can do basically is in our function up here, let's create on the top of everything a variable called products. Okay. I created a variable called products on the top of everything. When this function runs, this one in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this variable products, which initially is just an empty array. Could be even nothing, but what I'm going to do is I want this variable of products when we run this function to be equals to response.data. And then if you remember, the data, look in here, has these products as a key. So these products as a key will give me all this array of products. So I'm going to do response.data.products. So I know that this variable of products that we initially have on the top as completely an empty array, when we run this function is going to be what? Is going to be now an array full of products, basically, these products. All right, so this function in here, populate products, we're going to grab the container, and after, what we're going to do is we're going to do a const products HTML. So we are going to basically like build some HTML now that we want to put in here on the page. So for that, I'm going to loop to the products variable, which is going to be an array. So we can use the .map function. So if you guys remember, like the .map function will allow you to loop through an array and just do whatever you want with it. So inside of that, what I'm going to do is, since we are looping through an array, remember that the .map is looping through this object. So the first time that we run the loop, we're looping through the first object. Second time you loop is going to go through the second object, and so on. So when we are looping through these elements of the array, let's put in here a function. Okay, so a function like this. We can put a placeholder parameter that will represent the object. I'm just going to call it product, but the name could be anything that you want. All right, and the second thing that we can have in here is like an index. So this second parameter is what the .map function uses to count like the current index of the array that you are looping. So you know that the first time that you loop, I is going to be 0. The second time you run the loop, I is going to be 1, and so on. All right, let's go in here, and the .map function asks us to actually return something. So we're going to put in here a return, because we're going to return all these values and put them inside of these products HTML variable. Okay, let me just put this in here so we can see this a bit better. All right, so what do we want to return? I want to put in here, first of all, some backticks like this, because I'm going to be using some JavaScript in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to have a div like this with a class of image. So basically I'm going to do exactly what we had from before. Okay, the same syntax. I'm actually even going to copy this so I can just reuse it easily. Okay, like this. So we're going to have a div with a class of image and so on. Let me just push this inside. Okay. Now, in here, what is going to be the path to the first image? This is going to be, I'm going to just delete this and I'm going to put in here, let me just see. We actually have these in here. Look, we have image, which is going to be images, gray t-shirt, JPEG. All right. So we can do that. Let's just go in here and put like this. Okay. And we need to use this kind of $sign and curly braces to put whatever value we want coming from the product. So from the product, for the source of this image, I want to use the .image. Look, .image. That's what we have in here. Product .image. And for the alt, we could just simply put the name of the t-shirt. So I'm just going to put this in here like this. Okay. And I'm going to put a $sign. And this time this is going to be product. I'm just going to put .name. It should be fine. So if we put .name, we're grabbing in here, or we could put a description. Look, I'm even going to copy these, maybe put a description. Now this one in here is going to be the name. So let's put in here $sign, and I'm going to put this in here. So this is going to be product dot name. And this is going to be the price. So let's do that. I'm going to leave this $sign outside because this $sign is going to be actually the $sign that you see on the page. The second $sign that we have in here, this is for us to inject the variable. So product dot price. And I think that's it. Finally, we have in here, we were using this kind of variable. We will change this later on. But for now, if we want, we can just put in here like this. We're going to put cart and then the number of the index. So this is going to be the index, the I that we have on the top. So I think that's it. I think that's it basically. Now, the only thing that we need to do after having this kind of products HTML, the next thing that we have to do is we just need to check if we have a container. So basically we need to do this if statement because this file is also being used on the cart page. And on the cart page, we don't have this container. So because we are running this in there, it's going to give you an error. So you need to check if there is a container and you are on the home page. What we want to do, we want to access the container dot inner HTML is going to be plus equals to the products HTML. Okay. 2. Now we're going to use in here the toString. So this is a function that will allow you to convert an array, because remember that this variable is going to be a new array, but with all these values inside, like strings inside. So you need to convert that into some strings. And then because you are actually convert these into strings from an array, remember that the array has commas in between. And I'm going to show you that in a second. We will have to remove these commas inside. So now what we are going to do is I'm going to put in here on the top that after we call the products, inside of it, we are going to populate them. Let's just check this if this is working. Okay. So after you made a call to the backend and you updated your variable of products, you populate them on the page. All right, let's see if this is working or if there is anything else. And there it is, guys. Look, everything is working. Just like this one in here is not working with that to cart, but it's just like something very easy that we're gonna fix on the next video. So that's it basically for this one, guys. We made a query onto the backend, we displayed it on the front end, and yeah, everything is working. And that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I will see you on the next one.